All right, everyone. So it looks like we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. My name is Lee Ennis, and I would like to welcome you to the Austin ISD Health Advocates webinar. I am here with Jamie Pratt, our wellness coordinator, Joy Campbell, our dedicated EAP counselor, and Christina Shepard, our lead benefits ambassador. Together, we're going to walk you through a couple great topics today. We're going to talk about summer wellness opportunities and prioritizing self-care. Joy's going to go over a little bit of how to add energy and fun to your life. Christina's going to review your mobile benefits app, and I'm going to go over some points on how to choose the right healthcare provider for you. We have asked that we hold any questions until the end of each person's talking point, and please feel free to put any questions you may have during in the chat box. We're going to go ahead and we're going to get started. Just a reminder that this is recorded. So if there's anything sensitive that you'd like to share, please feel free to reach out to one of us personally or directly, and we can take care of it for you. Okay. And from there, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hand the reins over to Jamie, and we're going to get started.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Like she said, my name is Jamie. I'm our on-site wellness coordinator. Here's just my contact information, but I will put this slide up again at the end of my presentation. And feel free to put any information in the chat that you need or ask me questions at the very end or reach out to me directly following the webinar and the presentation. So we are going to go ahead and started here. Okay, so first I am going to talk about summer wellness opportunities. So this is what the employee wellness portal looks like. This is going to be your best resource for anything Austin ISD employee wellness. And something that's actually really cool is for this portal at the bottom down here on my page, you can see that the website is a specific link for us. It's www.austinisdwellbeing.com. So if you ever, maybe you're on a new computer or maybe don't have the app and need to get on it on your phone, it's a very easy website to remember. Personally, I bookmarked it on my computer, so I highly recommend that. And it's actually a single sign-on feature through our mobile app, which Christina will talk about later in the presentation, but you only have to sign in once. If you have any questions or need assistance resetting your password, anything like that, getting into the portal, setting it up, if you want me to show you everything that's on there, please let me know. There's so many resources. Something that I do want to bring up is, with the summer, it feels like we have a lot of time, but then the summer goes by quickly, as we know. But something that you can always do is, in moderation, use some of these resources. But just in the beginning, I would highly recommend going through the portal, looking through all of the resources, all of our vendors, everything that is available to you. Everything on here is largely going to be free and at no cost to you. So if you have any questions on specifics, please let me know. I'm happy to go through it with each and every one of you. Like I just mentioned, I have this fun little cartoon. So it says, it's a new time management app. When you click the icon, your calendar disappears. So I thought this was funny as we ended the school year, we go into summer, because a lot of our schedules have recently changed a lot, which, we knew it was coming. We know the summer schedule, but it can still feel like a huge life change. So all throughout the year, we've been very busy. It's been a crazy school year, as we know, but feeling like you have a lot more time right now that summer has just started can feel very overwhelming. So we're going to go into a little bit of how to actually prioritize self-care and using the wellness resources. But I just thought this little cartoon was funny. So something that may be a little bit challenging to shift into, but is very important, is looking to seek out joy in your life and with your time. Not necessarily the feeling of productivity. So with this schedule changing a lot of us are going from a very structured day-to-day routine, even just a routine in general, to maybe no routine at all. These are very large changes and they can kind of flip your life upside down. But if you are using intention to seek out, having fun and smiling, laughing, spending time with people that you enjoy spending time with. Like I said, being intentional with your time. So making those positive interactions with others, knocking things off your to-do list, but not feeling like you have to. You know, having this extra time is going to be largely beneficial, but even feeling like you need to rest can always be good. And, getting in that extra rest is a great way to really pass the time, and it's going to be better for you actually in the long run. So you can just ask yourself, am I searching for the feeling of being productive, or am I doing something that I enjoy? And, I understand that we all have obligations. We have, things that we do have to do, even if we don't want to, but, with other free time and potentially a more flexible schedule, this is a great time to focus on things that you truly enjoy and that make you happy. So going into really self-care, I have used this graphic so many times. Joy knows because we've presented it together. But this is one of my favorite analogies, and you can see it's a plant, so just like our Root for Yourself challenge that we're currently in. But it says, you can't pour from an empty cup. Take care of yourself first. So while Joy is going to talk a little bit later about running on empty and adding more fun to your life, something that really resonates with me is the analogy of a cup. So it can be empty, it can be partially full, it can be overflowing, as some people like to say when they've had a really good day. But what's important is filling up that cup or having something in that cup. So I have a little bit of an exercise later in my presentation for us to practice, but this is so important because as leaders in the community, as people that are working with children daily, these are big responsibilities. With families, friends, neighbors, almost any situation in your life can really go back to filling up your own cup first, and then being able to kind of share the wealth or pour into other cups. So just like plants, we need water, we need sunlight, but those can be attributed to other parts of our lives. We need social connection, we need rest, we do need food and fuel, and those are some of the very basic things that we can do for self-care. And going back to what I was just mentioning, even something that just brings you joy, this is one of my favorite examples, but if going through your stock plan on the weekend or in your free time and going through your investments, if that is something that really makes you happy, then do it. That is a form of self-care. It can really be anything. And something that I think that we always kind of forget when we're working in these group settings and maybe at home with family is, even if you are living with other people or around other people all the time, it's still very important and not selfish to fill up your own cup first. So just in a specific example with families or in a classroom. So it's very challenging and probably not going to work out very well for anyone if you're trying to go through your day-to-day, day after day, week after week, month after month. The time goes quickly. And if your cup is not full or you're not able to fill it. So first you can kind of start with self-awareness. And then from there, just ask yourself what makes you happy, what is going to be the best for you in this moment. And then how can I better be a person in my life, in society, to my family members, to my friends, to my students, to my peers, anything like that. So again, we have an exercise at the end, but that is why I love this graphic so much. So just diving a little bit more into self-care, if we look at what self-care is, first, like I mentioned, it is actually understanding oneself. So while it may sound a little bit cheesy and weird, you can actually talk to yourself even out loud if you want to. Sometimes that is a little bit more serious and can get more reflection out of your own mind, as opposed to just kind of thinking or being quiet. But really ask yourself, look in the mirror. A lot of times it really helps to see yourself, because you can see the reflection of your own emotions. And then, if you guys can see this, my video box is in the way, but then following that, I mean, literally the word care. So you really kind of see what you might need, where you might be at, and then how to care for it. So something that's very big in wellness right now is really treating mental health and brain health like any other injury or an illness, a sickness that you might think of, the flu, breaking a leg, or something like that. And we're going to dive into that a little bit further. But first, understanding yourself, this is going to be something that's very helpful. So a lot of you have probably seen this before, but it is the feelings chart. So I actually have this all the time. I have it saved on my computer because it is just so important to, like I said, first identify what you might be feeling. And I love this one and ones that look like this, because you can start from the middle in a very basic feeling and kind of work your way out. Using these words more in your daily life is going to be helpful in you becoming more familiar with them, and then better able to identify what you might be feeling in that moment. So, I highly recommend you can keep it on your phone, you can keep it at your desk, just have it bookmarked, something like that. And starting to learn more of these words is definitely going to be a process, but will be helpful in the long run. And following that, going back to treating kind of mental health as, just any other type of physical health, we wouldn't treat the same, or I guess the different types of injuries that might be physical injuries in the same way. So if someone falls and breaks their leg, they're obviously not going to be treated the same way as somebody that is having a heart attack. So there's going to be different actions, different procedures, and different follow-ups, in the same way that there might be different preventions for these types of things. So if you think about that in the way of self-care, it can be physical, but it is largely mental. So this is the exercise I was talking about. Feel free to take a photo of this. I can put it in the chat later as well. But going back to the feelings wheel, I would recommend you start with, I feel blank. Now, this can be an exercise. You might be able to quickly identify it. I know sometimes with maybe anger, that's a quick one that you can identify and then kind of figure out where it's coming from. Or even something like hunger, you might not think about that. So you can kind of go back and figure out where they're stemming from. But it's really important to first start with identifying what that feeling is. Then move into self-care. So once we determine the self part, we can just go into the care part. So this first blank right here is going to be something. It's going to be an action. Maybe it's food. Maybe it is something tangible that you can hold. Maybe it is, like I said, an action. Maybe it's a practice. So it can really be anything. So going back earlier to something that brings you joy, something that is going to kind of counteract that first feeling, which then leads me to this next part. Whatever you think of right there, you can say, will make me feel blank. So again, the feelings wheel comes back into play. Though they're going to be different feelings. So maybe, a very simple one, if we start with, I feel sad, maybe I'll say, going for a walk will make me feel happy. And then a very important piece to wrap this up is actually adding a why. So then at the end we have because blank. So we could say, I feel sad. Going for a walk will make me feel happy because I love the sunshine. And my neighbors are next door and maybe they're outside and I'll say hi to them, and hopefully it'll just stem into so many things that bring you joy. But like I said, feel free to take note of this, write this down. It's very simple, but even if it is something that doesn't seem like it could help in the moment, or if there's any guilt surrounding it, this will actually help, because then you can figure out how it's counteracting the feeling that might not be serving you in that moment. And then in addition to that, you are getting more practice in identifying your feelings and then, ultimately caring for them. So this is just a little exercise that I thought of that can potentially help some of you. You can put it on a sticky note, keep it in your phone, but doing this in moderation may help and kind of get us a little bit more familiar with self-care. And now that we have all that time in the summer, hopefully we can move into self-care a little bit more. I know it's definitely helped me as well. So I just have a couple of minutes left. I'm going to see if there's any questions in the chat. If you have any questions, here's my contact information. Once again, feel free to reach out to me directly. It can be confidential. I will say, if you have any questions about your specific wellness program points or your incentives, please reach out to me directly and not during the presentation or in the chat. I can connect with you following the presentation. But is anyone checking the chat? Are there any questions?
I don't see any questions as of now. Give everybody a couple seconds if they have anything that they want to ask. All right, well, if we don't have any questions, we'll have Jamie just pass the controls over to Joy.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, hello everybody. I am Joy Campbell. I am the ComPsych EAP therapist that is dedicated to AISD. And what that basically means is you get 4 free confidential sessions with me. Any staff member, insurance or no insurance, can reach out to me. I do this via secure video or phone, so call me or email me to set this up, and I'll provide that information, at the end if people don't already have it. I know a flyer just went out, so hopefully a lot of people have been receiving this and then have my info that way. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Let me make sure this does it correctly. It minimized it. I got this, I promise. Okay, and let me get me back over here. All right, so today we're going to talk about running on E, which is adding energy and fun to your life, because running on E can mean a couple of things. So it can mean running on empty, or it can be running on energy. So some of the things we're going to talk about today is kind of understanding how the power of the mind and body are connected. We're going to take ownership of the stress that's dragging our energy down, or could be. We're going to try to be aware of our own energy level and learn ways to increase it. And we're going to work on making work fun. So one of the things we can do is, when we look in the mirror, we need to ask ourselves, who's responsible for the stress I'm feeling and the amount of energy I have? And it really is us. We can decide how we choose to spend it. And, yeah, right. It's all about choices. So change what causes you stress is one of the things. And what this is going to look like is, do we need to set boundaries? Are we saying yes too much? Are we not taking enough time for ourselves? Do we need to change our environment? So basically looking at the things that are creating stress for us is one of our choices. The other choice is, let's say that there's not a whole lot we can do about our environment. There's not a whole lot we can do about taking more time for ourselves. We're just overextended. Then we can change the way we look at it. We can decide, well, I'm just going to do the best I can. I'm going to keep plugging until I figure it out. I'm going to ask for help, but regardless, I'm going to have a positive attitude about it, because having a negative one just creates more stress. So the goal is to have a positive state of mind to help ourselves out in the end. So I've got an example here. This is June. She is aiming for a big promotion, recently divorced, drowning in legal work. If any of you have been through a divorce, I have. It is no fun, and it is a lot of work. She's also caring for a sick elderly loved one, and she's moving to a new home and neighborhood. So she's got every stressor you can imagine happening at the same time. So her choices are, she can just say, you know, I've just taken on too much. I need to figure out what to do with this. I'm not happy anymore. She may put the promotion on hold. She may decide to have somebody come in to help her take care of her sick elderly person. She may decide to have somebody help her with the new home and moving. So there's a lot of choices she has in that part. She can ask for help or she can continue drowning. The second one is changing the viewpoint. If she is speaking negatively to herself, like, oh, this is too much, I can't do this, I feel so overwhelmed, I just, you know, there's no way I can handle this. Well, then she's setting herself up to not be able to handle it well. So one of the things she can do is say, you know, I'm feeling overwhelmed right now, but it will pass. This isn't forever. I have the strength to get through it. I'll develop a plan to handle my stress in a healthy way. So she'll figure out how to make this big ball of stress work better for her. So one of the things we need to do is to identify the negative self-talk, kind of notice when we're doing these things. So when things don't turn out the way we want, sometimes we can say, oh man, you know, I should have done better. I can't believe that happened that way. Or we blame other people or blame ourselves. So that's one of the ways we can do the negative self-talk. Sometimes we become too critical of ourselves. Man, I should have done this. I mean, I could have done that. You know, the whole what ifs kind of start, and that creates the whole negative. When you use the words, yeah, should, could, ought too often, notice if you're using that all the time. You might want to stop yourself at that point because you're in a negative train of thinking, probably often, maybe more of a negative habit per se. When you participate in the if thinking, if then, if I only did this, if I only did that, you end up you could actually create an anxiety loop, you know, because you're basically what ifing yourself to anxiety, to stress, because none of the what ifing is actually problem solving. And that's what helps us get out of these stressful times. All right, so let's look at turning the negative thoughts into positive. I'll just take a couple on this one because I know I tend to be wordy and go too long, and Jamie has to get on to me. Okay, let's start with sometimes people have credit card debt. So if we're thinking this credit card debt is enormous, I'll never be able to pay it off, that's going to stress us out because it's going to seem too huge. One thing that we can do is say, there's more debt on my credit card than I'd like, but this is a challenge I can handle. I'll look at some strategies for paying it off. So that's problem solving. That would be a good time to call the EAP resources line, maybe. Look for some financial planning, look for some, you know, there's so much help available. So that would be a good time to call and see. Let's do number 4. People have traffic that is an issue all the time, typically, that, you know, stress causer. I should have taken the other road home. This traffic is horrific. So instead, let's use that as an opportunity to, I've got some extra time to just kind of sit back and listen to an audiobook I want. I'm going to listen to some music. I'm going to think about my day. I'm going to count my blessings. I'm going to plan for what I can do later on. So basically making it productive kind of helps you get out of the negative thinking. It's making the best of the situation versus making it more stressful for you. So the mind-body connection, how we feel physically affects our emotional well-being and vice versa. So when people feel chronically threatened or overwhelmed, the brain is going to release stress hormones, adrenaline and cortisol, and these contribute or can contribute to, you know, things like depression, diseases, that kind of thing. So relieving chronic stress leads to, you know, feeling better, healthier body, that kind of thing. So a way to jumpstart our exercise is exercise. Exercise, exercise, exercise. This gives you some of the feel-good hormones that you need that combat the stress hormones. So if you can find some way to exercise somehow, whatever it is that you enjoy doing, try to do more of that. That will, you know, hopefully jumpstart you. Start the day with good thoughts. Think of some of the, you know, good things you do, some of the good things in your life. Greet everyone you meet cheerfully, say something positive. Sometimes that helps, you know, responding, I'm great, when people ask you how you are. You may not be great, but if you say you are, maybe that helps you be in that mindset where you can be. So spread some good news around and smile. I am trying to let this person in. It's not working. My mouse is not. There we go. Multitasking. We can do this. All right, here are the zones that we're looking at. We're looking at the energy zone, the anxiety zone, burnout, and low energy. Our goal is always to be in the energy. It doesn't always work, but some of the things I talked about previously can help us be there. I want to talk a little bit about burnout. This is where we're feeling discouraged. This is where we're feeling exhausted, weary. And I've heard a lot of, people I've talked to say that's kind of where they are. Many times. This has been a rough year for a lot of people, and that's just kind of what they're feeling. So when we're burned out, we're basically running on empty. Before we reach this level, there are warning signs that we're headed there. We just ignored them and kept going. So once you're in the burnout zone, it's kind of hard to get out because you're already so tired. It's difficult to think about exercising. It's difficult to think about some of these things that we need to be doing that could make us feel better. So it's better if we try in the low energy zone to stop and do the self-care that we need before we get all the way to the bottom, to the burnout. So remember, power of the mind, so we can work through some of this, have some better thinking, that kind of thing. Let's see. Some of the things we can do when we're in low energy is, I've talked about halt mode before. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, or triggered, work on that. Kind of lift yourself up, eat something, take a break, do the best that you can to lift yourself out of whatever's creating the stress and the issues for yourself. Ask yourself why you're feeling stressed. And this is in the low energy. If you're starting to feel tired, you're starting to, just not have the same drive that you did before. Ask yourself what's going on with all of that. Are more things going on? Am I doing too much at work? Am I not taking care of myself enough? Do I need to set some boundaries? What are those kind of things? And the last, let's see, anxiety. This one's kind of personality based. If you're someone who's always anxious, that sometimes can zap your energy dry. These things can be a little bit difficult to change, but you can work with it. You can create ways to better manage that anxiety. What do I need to do? Do I need to ask for help? Do I need to not go to certain environments? Just kind of identifying what creates the anxiety can be helpful. Make a list of stressors, make a list of how you can deal with them, that kind of thing. All right, let's go to, let me skip ahead to the energy one. This is the one we want to be in. This is the one where we feel confidence in what we're doing. We've done the things to keep us more balanced, and we're flexible in our thinking. We're not too hard on ourselves. We're open to, some of the changes and some of the things around us. We are focusing on the things we need to focus on, not doing the what ifs, all the things that can cause anxiety and stress. So how can you make work fun? Talk to people who benefit from your work. A lot of times we hear negative, 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 but we don't hear about all the positive we're doing. So talk to people about, the strengths and just the innovative part. What have you done that's been creative that really helped everybody out? What have you done that kept everything fun? So, and there is that too. So I know I'm probably running out of time. So let me make sure that I've done everything I think I have. Does anybody have any questions for me? Let me stop share, that way I can look at chat.
Joy, I think we had a question regarding the zones, and we had a participant ask, can you be in more than one zone at the same time?
More than one zone at the same time. I think that is highly likely, yes. I think there is definitely a middle. Like you could probably put a circle in the middle of all those zones. And yes, those are pieces of that. If anybody's watched Inside Out, you can be happy and sad at the same time. That kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. And I know I ran through this quickly. We only had a limited amount of time, but if anything on here interests you, please set up a time to talk to me. We can go through this more. We can tailor it more individually to your needs. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
I don't see any more in the chat box, but we'll have Joy put her contact information in the chat box if anyone wants to reach out to her directly, okay?
Yes.
And if we don't have anything else, we'll go ahead and we'll hand it over to Christina.
All right. Hey, there we go. All right, and Joy, did you make me host? There we go. Okay, perfect. Welcome everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Christine Shepard. I'm one of your benefits specialists here, and today we're actually going to go over the app. So I'm going to transfer control once again to the other me here, which is going to be the mobile me, and I'm going to actually go in and walk you through our mobile app and some of its great features. All right, perfect. And while I'm doing that, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera so you don't just see me looking down as I'm going through the app. Okay, perfect. All right, how many of you have ever been in a situation where you needed to access your insurance card or tell the doctor who your insurance was with, or you're calling the dentist, you're trying to make an appointment, and you didn't have that information handy? Oh, I'm not sharing a screen just yet. But if you want in the chat, you can just go ahead and plop an emoji if you've ever been in that situation. And if you have, you are in good company. You're definitely not alone. And that's one of the questions that we get all the time here in the benefit office. So I'm going to give you a hands-on tour of our benefits app, and I'm going to share my phone screen with you right now. And this is one of my favorite benefit resources. It puts everything in the palm of your hand all in one place. So in order to use the app, of course, first you have to have it. So to access it, you can just search for that on Google Play, and it's the ISD benefits app. The logo here, as you can see, looks just like the AISD app, but just reversed. So we'll go ahead and open this. And I'm going to put in the chat a handy how-to guide to register if you've never registered for the app before. All right. So once you're logged in, you're going to see the app. Mine's going to look just slightly different from yours because it's going to be custom tailored to you. And I'm an admin user, so I get to see everything. But when you log in, you're only going to see those benefits that you actually have. At the top, there is the slideshow carousel, and that's going to have all of our recent updates and other important information. It does change frequently, and if you want to learn more about any of these topics as they're going by, you can just click on them and it'll take you right to the page. And then below, you're going to see all of your benefit options listed. So to find information about your medical coverage, we're just going to click on health benefits, and under this page, there's going to be a couple of different pieces of information. So of course, for your medical insurance, your plan is going to be listed there. Ready MD, our awesome telehealth program, if you wanted to access that for a quick phone appointment, you can actually just click on it, and the little phone icon here, you can click that and it's going to start a phone call to Ready MD for you. You don't have to look up a phone number or do anything. It's right there. For your medical plan, if you click on that, it's going to give you information about our group number, again, the phone, so you can click to call Aetna. Your coverage details, maybe you don't remember what your deductible is or what your copay might be. If you click on coverage details, it's going to give you all of that information in a quick little snapshot. And ID card, as I mentioned, sometimes you need your ID card. So right now you can click and it's going to log you into Aetna. But coming up soon, we're really excited about this. Your ID card is actually going to be there for you right here in the app. All right. Now you might be wondering, where are all my other benefits? That covers our medical. Everything else is going to live here in voluntary benefits. And so that's going to be where you find your dental, your vision information, if you have a flexible spending account, if you have questions about life insurance or disability insurance, everything's going to be under this heading. So like your dental insurance, again, if you needed to find out information about your plan, it's right here. If you have the PPO plus, your deductible, your copay, covered benefits. And then one of my favorite features on the app is most of the websites have a single sign-on. So we all have these, tons of different logins, tons of different passwords that we always have to try and remember. Each site has different requirements and it kind of gets to be a pain. Well, with the app, you can just click, log in, and it's going to single sign on you right into the vendor's website. For most of those websites have that capability. So there we go. I'm in Delta Dental. I didn't have to enter a password or do anything. It's right there, nice and convenient. Okay, if you need to make changes to your benefits, you're like, okay, I've got my benefits, but I just got married and I need to add my spouse. How do I do that? You can always call the benefits office, but you can also get the information here in the app. So if you scroll down, there's a section for life events, and it's going to give you all of the information you need to be able to complete that event. So it lets you know the timeline. We do have 31 days from the date of the event. Different events that qualify, they're listed here. Who are your eligible dependents? Question we get quite a bit is, can I cover my parents? Which I think is a wonderful sentiment, but unfortunately we can't. But it talks about who your eligible dependents are, what documents are required. So everything that you need. And then of course, the best part, a single sign-on link to the benefits portal so that you can log in and make those qualifying event changes. All right. In addition to the insurance benefits, we do have all of our other wellness initiatives here in the app. So just like Jamie was talking about with our annual or quarterly challenge, if you're like, hey, I need to upload my bingo card, you can do it right there and log it to the wellness portal. If you have questions for EAP or you want to call the EAP helpline, everything is right here and it tells you everything that you can do through the EAP program. Again, you can just click to call so you don't have to go searching for a phone number. One of my other favorite parts is the My Discounts page. That's always being updated. I know we get a lot of questions about this page. So there's all kinds of good money saving features there. And then speaking of money, we have financial planning. So financial planning area is going to have all of the information that we need for TRS, about our voluntary 403B, 457B retirement plans, and then FinPath, who of course is our financial wellness provider. And then last but not least, if you are looking and thinking you might need to take a leave of absence, the information is here as well for everybody with the leave request form and then the different types of leave that are available. The app does send out push notifications. We don't send out a ton. It's not going to be a notification every day, but it's important to subscribe to those. And that way you get important reminders and information about whatever our benefit initiatives are, about upcoming webinars, upcoming programs that we have. And so that way you don't miss a thing. And then a few tips and tricks. So the app did get updated a couple years ago. So if you are having trouble logging in, you may want to delete and reinstall your app. A few people I know did need to re-register as a new user, so always try that. But of course, if you do have any issues, you can always give us a call here at the benefit office. And I'm going to drop in the chat those handy how-to guides and the QR codes that you can download that app in either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. And then let me go ahead and stop the share. Make the other me the host. Perfect. And then I will share that with you. And then My contact information is right here for you all. If anybody has any questions, I will check those in the chat. And like I said, benefits app, definitely one of our best benefits resources with all of that information right in the palm of your hand. All right, excellent.
And I am looking, do we have any questions, anything anyone wants to put in the chat about benefits app or Christina's presentation? Okay. And like Christina mentioned, if you don't have any questions, you can always reach out to her directly or contact information. Okay. All right, and if that is it, we'll go ahead and I will get started on our final presentation of the webinar. Do this. All right, guys, so what I'm going to talk about today is the topic of choosing your healthcare provider. This is something that causes a considerable amount of stress. We wouldn't think it would be that difficult to go through and do, but there are a lot of questions in terms of, am I choosing the right provider? Is this person covered? Things of that nature. So hopefully some of the tips I can give you today will help give you a little bit more guidance as the best way to do that, and also for you to feel confident in who you're choosing. So this is an overview of what we're going to go over today. So to simplify, the steps to follow when you're choosing your provider. First and foremost, you're going to want to understand your plan coverage and your individual needs. We're going to need you to find a list of in-network providers. You'll have to set up an appointment, prepare for your visit, and then decide if your provider is a good fit. So these are the steps. They seem simple enough, but I'm going to elaborate on the coming slides. Just some helpful things that can help navigate you through that process. So first and foremost, the first thing that you need to ask yourself before searching for your provider, what are my medical plan benefits? You're going to want to understand your coverage. You're going to want to know the cost of, do I have a copay that I have to pay every time I go? Do I need to go see a primary care provider or a specialist? Typically, when you go see a primary care provider, that's going to be a lower copay than your specialist. But again, these are all things that you can find under your plan coverage. You can find this information in the benefits guide. You can find it, like Christina said, on your app. That information is going to be tailored to you, or you can always call someone on the benefits team and they can help guide you through that. The next thing you want to ask yourself before picking an in-network provider, is gender important? Is age important? Some appointments that we have may be a little bit more sensitive in nature, and it's always very, very important that you feel the most comfortable with your provider. So it's okay to say, okay, I prefer a female over a male. I prefer a doctor with a little bit more experience. It's always about your comfort level and your confidence in your care. So please ask yourself these questions when choosing. The other thing that you're going to want to think about is the location. When you get a list of in-network providers, and you can get that list from Aetna, you can get it from DocFind in the Aetna app, you can call Aetna. You want to think about location. Austin, we know, is getting busier and busier by the day, and something that is 6 miles away may not be a 6-minute drive. It may be 30 minutes to get from point A to point B. So always think about what location is convenient for you. Map it out and make sure that for the time frame that it's not causing you more stress to drive, 20 minutes in one direction when you could be finding something that's a little bit closer to where you're working or where you live. This other one, this final step, feel free to check out online reviews. If you find a doctor that you think could be a good fit, please, check around. You can Google this doctor, and they typically have reviews that patients have written about these doctors. We're very quick if we're on Amazon Prime or if we're doing online shopping to read the reviews, and it's okay to do that with your physicians as well. You want to make sure that, like I said, you feel comfortable and confident in your choice. So when you start with this list of in-network physicians, like I said, here we've got the Aetna DocFind. If you go to Aetna.com, if you have the Aetna mobile app, if you have the benefits app, you can go in through that as well. Like Christina mentioned, it's single sign-on. but you can go in and you can find your physician. When you go in through the Aetna app, it's going to give you a list of in-network physicians within your specific network. So that's very important that when you pull this list, that you're making sure that it's within your plan, okay? The next thing that you want to keep in mind, this is a list that is generated and it's updated by physicians, but physicians are human and they don't always update these as quickly as we'd like. So make sure that if a doctor is on the list that you receive from Aetna, that when you call them, that you confirm that they are still within your network. That's very important. Essentially, when you do this search, it's going to give you this list of providers. It's going to have their name, the address, their specialties, and their phone number. So with that list of phone numbers, what you can do is once you narrow down, okay, this person may be a good fit, you want to give them a call. When you go to give them a call, you want to make sure that you have your current insurance ID card on hand. You can, again, check in the app to make sure that it is the most updated if you're not sure, or you can always call Aetna. A couple things that you want to keep in mind. If there's anything that you take away from this presentation, always confirm that they take your specific plan before your appointment. Very often we get calls from employees. They say, oh, well, they said that they took Aetna, but they don't take my specific plan. It's very important that even if a provider does take Aetna, that you guys check. AISD has a set of specific plans that do require you to see seat and network of doctors. So you want to make sure that you're checking to say, hey, can you please verify before I come in for my appointment? The final step that you want to take when setting that appointment is you want to ask what to expect at the appointment or what to bring. A lot of physicians, if you're a new patient, require you to fill out new patient paperwork. So most of them will have you do that online, and they ask that you prepare that ahead of time or come in 15 minutes early. So it's always okay to ask those questions and just make sure you know what they're going to do at the appointment. Some may say, okay, we're going to need to do labs today. So they may expect you to fast, or they may want you to drink a lot of water to make sure you're hydrated to make the process as seamless as possible. So always feel free to ask those questions. Like I said prior, it is very important that you confirm that your provider takes the specific insurance plan and confirms that before your appointment. I would never want someone to say, yeah, you know, we'll check it out. What happens a lot of times is if someone doesn't confirm, they go in and they have their appointment and turns out they're not in network, and then you're left with a bill. So always, for your peace of mind, confirm beforehand when you're talking to the receptionist. It is okay to say, can you please run by my specific plan?
Okay, I'll get back in.
But I think we've got someone that's off mute. I think if you just entered the chat, the webinar, can you mute yourself, please? Thank you. And like I said, for AISD medical plan members, if you are on one of the seat and only plans, the question to ask is not, do you take Aetna? It is, can you please call Aetna to verify that you are a provider in my specific plan network? And they can do this via your member ID. Once you've set that visit, like I said, there's a couple things that you're going to want to do to prepare. You will want to ask them, like I mentioned, what to bring or what to expect at that first visit. And then some things that you can do beforehand on your own is make sure that you have your current medical and insurance IDs. A lot of new providers will ask you to have your personal and family history ready, and they will ask you for that as you're doing your new patient paperwork. Another great thing to have on hand is going to be a current list of medications and their dosages to share with your doctor if this is the first time you're meeting them. And also a preferred pharmacy and its address if you do have prescriptions that need to be transferred over to a new physician. It's okay as well to bring a list of questions or things that you would like to discuss with your doctor. And it's also okay to, you know, take notes. They're going to give you a lot of information, and sometimes it can be overwhelming and it can be a very quick appointment. So always feel comfortable in advocating for yourself. And if there's something you're curious about, please feel free to ask those questions to your doctor. This last one, if you feel like you need additional help at the doctor or the physician's office, it is okay to bring someone. However, with COVID and recent guidelines, you always want to check with facilities because sometimes they're not going to be allowing anybody but patients back in the clinics. So it's always a good thing to check if you feel like you need additional assistance or someone to come with you. When you call to make that appointment, ask for their policy on that. The final step, you've found your in-network provider, you made the appointment, you got in, you prepared, and you're there. After your visit, there's a couple questions you want to ask yourself. Did you feel comfortable with your provider? Did you feel like you were able to communicate effectively with them? And did you feel heard and understood by the provider? This one's really important. Very often we have the concept that we go into the provider and the doctor's going to tell us what we need, and then we're in and out, and a lot of times we're left with questions that are not answered, and it leaves us with uncertainty, especially if we've been given a diagnosis for something that we need to do. So I always want you to feel 100% comfortable asking these questions. If there's something bothering you, whether your medication you feel like isn't a great fit, whether you're having problems, with managing some of the symptoms of a condition you may be dealing with. It is always okay. The doctor's office is supposed to be a safe place. And if you don't feel comfortable asking these questions, it is okay to advocate for yourself or to find a different provider. This final one, do you feel confident in understanding and following the next steps given by your provider? Because of the current climate we're in right now, it's really important that we are advocating for ourselves when we go into the doctor's office. So that means if you're going in and you feel like you're being shuffled in and out and you're not getting what you need and you're left unsure, please, please, please either ask those questions, or if you feel like those are also getting swept to the side, it is okay, like I said, to find a different provider. If you feel like the person that you made an appointment with isn't a good fit for you, what you do is you start back to square A, and you're going to go back to that original list of in-network providers, and you can go back through and start that process. If that's something that seems daunting, you can always reach out to me or to someone in the benefits office or at Aetna, and they can help guide you through that process as well. Okay, so I know that we just went over a lot, but does anyone have any questions? I've got my contact information up here for you, if so. Okay, I don't think, do we have any questions? I don't think I see any. Okay. Well, if that's the case, like I said, you can reach out to any one of us individually. And thank you all for coming today. We really appreciate your time. Get home, stay cool, and have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.